through time, to change your past, to see the future. It's been a dream of mankind for thousands of years, but the truth may be more than just fantasy. There is evidence that time travel is not only real, but exists today, controlled by an elite few in the present and visitors from the future. It is a power great enough to affect every life on our planet.
If you travel back in time and you bump into somebody on the sidewalk or step on an ant, that the butterfly effect tells you that that in itself could alter humanity and alter history.
But what happens when it falls into the wrong hands?
What if somebody goes back in time before the evolution of the human race? What if they altered one species of animals that plays a role in our evolution, but we just don't know that connection? Those little types of effects could absolutely wipe out the human race altogether. It kind of sounds far-fetched, but if you think about it, those little types of changes, if you were able to achieve time travel, could potentially wipe us all out.
From catastrophic weapons of war to cryptic messages from the future. Tonight, we explore the greatest power of our entire existence. Join us as we unseal the secrets of time travel. What if the history you were taught in school was all a lie? Is our government controlled by a secret society? Welcome to the world of conspiracy, where cover-ups, secrets, and hidden agendas all trace back to a single source. We're about to unseal the secret files the government doesn't want you to know about. This is Unsealed Conspiracy Files. 1941. War is raging in Europe. America has yet to join the fray. In Goldbridge, British Columbia, the South Fork Bridge is about to reopen after repairs. Hundreds of citizens show up to witness the event.
In one photo released by a Canadian archive, there was a photograph taken on a reopening of a bridge. Now, what they did was they took a photograph of the entire crowd that was watching, and in the middle was this man that was completely out of place. From almost head to almost toe that you could see, it didn't line up.
He is mysteriously out of place, holding clues that he may be a man out of time. Could this photo reveal evidence of a time traveler? The person in question has a unique hairstyle compared to those around him. His sunglasses seem futuristic for the 1940s. And under a hooded sweatshirt, he appears to be wearing a silkscreen t-shirt, 20 years before the garment screen printer was even invented. But the most damning evidence of all could be what this strange man holds in his hands. What appears to be a modern camera, sleeker, more compact than anything of its day.
So from head to toe, this gentleman just did not fit the time frame that the photograph was taken. Now, it was put on the internet by this archive, not expecting the reaction from the public. It spread like wildfire through the internet as proof that time travel exists.
But who is he? Perhaps this is a question that could only be answered by a fellow time traveler. Seattle attorney Andrew Basiago claims to have traveled through time and space as a participant in a secret government program. Recruited as a child, Basiago supports his time travel declaration with this evidence, a photograph taken in 1863, which he claims shows him as a boy at the Gettysburg Address. According to Basiago, in the late 1970s, the CIA partnered with DARPA to develop a top-secret jump room in El Segundo, California. The alleged facility enables humans to bend the space-time continuum at will. This device would have allowed instantaneous travel outside our planet, and even through time itself. If his claims are true, the CIA not only experimented with, but built operable time machines. This would allow an unrivaled power to control the destiny of the human race. While it may sound like science fiction, there is evidence that the U.S. government did obtain the technology and that it came from the same source as our modern rocketry science: Adolf Hitler and the Nazis.
Many people believe that the ultimate Wunderwaffe, the ultimate superweapon of the Nazi regime, would have been time travel. Imagine if Adolf Hitler and all of the people around him were able to achieve such a piece of technology. Imagine what that could do in respect to the war itself.
Coming up next, the most shocking tale of Hitler's time machine isn't when it disappeared, but when it reappeared 20 years later. Unsealed. Conspiracy Files. Welcome back to the world of conspiracy. This is Unsealed Conspiracy Files. If possible, time travel would change the very nature of our reality. The power to control history is the power to control the present and the future. Could we prevent it from falling into the wrong hands? Or is it already too late? Unsealed Case File, the Nazi Bell. Toward the end of World War II, Allied forces were invading Germany. Nazi airfields were bombed beyond repair. Hitler was seeking technology to launch aircraft not dependent on runways. What he got may have turned into the most powerful weapon in history, a device known as Die Glocke, or the Bell. After the war, an underground research facility was discovered. It was carved nearly 1,000 kilometers into the Sudeten Mountains. In these caverns, some believe Hitler's army developed his ultimate wonder weapon.
Die Glocke was purportedly a bell-shaped device that stood up to 15 feet tall. And it's been said that 5 of Hitler's top scientists may have died while working on that project. And those sacrifices mean that Hitler thought he was onto something.
And here was their technology that used counter-rotating cylinders of a very heavy metal, liquid metal, called red mercury. And by spinning them, by counter-rotating them at furiously high speeds, it generated an intense field of radioactivity. And that became the power source for these weapons, counter-rotating fields of mercury.
Experts believe Die Glocke may have originally been designed to power the Flytrap, an alleged launch pad for experimental Nazi aircraft.
Reports say that the Flytrap was used to launch anti-gravity aircraft. If the Nazis had actually developed anti-gravity aircraft, there's no way the Allies would have been able to keep up.
But some believe Die Glocke may have had a greater purpose for the Nazis, one that could make them the most unstoppable army in the history of time.
Some of the stories about this device describe that it had a mirror on top of it that allegedly allowed one to see images from the past.
It is theorized Die Glocke would need to generate 100 million watts of electricity, enough to warp electrogravitational fields, thus creating an opening in time.
One of the theories about Die Glocke as a time travel piece of technology is that it would create a torsion field around the Nazi bell. Whatever this piece of technology was, it would create this torsion field or this energy bubble, and that it would actually alter the 4 dimensions in the unified field theory. We know the 3 dimensions that you and I talk, walk, and interact in, but the 4th dimension being time itself. That what this torsion field does in conjunction with the Nazi bell is distort all of that and allow us to go forwards and backwards in time to change history.
If this is possible, Hitler would have at his disposal a time machine.
How would it have traveled in time? By creating vortices, they could shoot themselves through, pull space-time around them.
So operate off the assumption that the Nazi bell was a time machine and Hitler was able to actually create it. If he could just go into this object and go back to any point in time that he would want to, would be unstoppable. He can, in essence, do whatever he wanted, save Nazi Germany, and really fulfill his world domination desire.
But in 1945, the Nazi regime was defeated.
We will gain the inevitable triumph, so help us God.
Before his death, Hitler allegedly ordered the bell's destruction. Was the world's first time machine lost in the fog of war? Or was it used as the Nazis' final escape?
In December 1965, over 20 years after Die Glocke disappeared, a strange bell-shaped craft heavy with radioactivity and glowing blue swept over the American border from Canada, over Michigan, over Ohio, making long S-curves and slowly coming to a controlled crash landing outside of Kecksburg, Pennsylvania.
Witnesses, interviewed by the local papers, reported a large crashed object nearly identical in description to the Nazi bell. They also claimed that a group of American soldiers arrived on the scene. Using a flatbed truck, the soldiers are said to have loaded the object and taken it away.
Almost instantly, a unit of American soldiers who wore no insignia and came with a flatbed truck were there to retrieve this object and take it away. People were warned, keep your mouth shut. Don't talk about this.
Could this tale confirm the true purpose of Die Glocke?
Did Die Glocke disappear in time, landing 20 plus years later in Pennsylvania, and then being taken to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, where for all we know, it sits there today, our own American time machine?
Coming up next, the incredible story of an unlikely encounter with humans from the future and the shocking message they left behind. Unsealed Conspiracy Files. Welcome back to the world of conspiracy. This is Unsealed Conspiracy Files. Could the human race really discover how to travel through time? And if they could, have they done so already? History has left tantalizing clues that time travel is possible.
One piece of evidence that many claim is proof of time travel are ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. That on the walls of some Egyptian temples and in their artwork are symbols that actually represent what we would call today as airplanes, as helicopters, as blimps, as pieces of technology that they didn't have in ancient Egypt, and yet they were drawing it on their walls. Many ask, how did they know? Is this proof that they themselves were able to travel through time, maybe see the 21st century technology that they chronicled on a temple wall? Was that technology able to travel back in time? I mean, there's a lot of theories on what it could mean.
But even more compelling is a message seemingly brought to us from the future.
On December 26, 1980, security personnel from RAF Bentwaters in the UK went out into Rendlesham Forest to investigate a series of lights where radar said an aircraft might have gone down.
Upon entering the forest, Sergeant Jim Peniston and his partner, John Burroughs, encounter a strange aircraft that lands right before their eyes. They approach the craft, and Sergeant Peniston places his hand on the surface. As he does, Peniston is frozen while a mysterious code is beamed into his mind. A telepathic communication.
I had an explosion of white light where I couldn't see. I was blinded. And I started seeing ones and zeros flashing. I mean, it was like inside my mind's eye.
Peniston is shaken by his contact with the craft and the vision it leaves behind. But even more incredible, John Burroughs maintains a different memory of the event entirely.
I do not remember seeing Jim walk around the craft. I do not remember touching the craft. What I clearly remember was we got close to something, and the next thing I know, it appeared to go up into the sky and then shoot out towards the coast.
Afterwards, the two soldiers realize that the times on their synchronized watches are off by almost 45 minutes.
When John Burroughs and Jim Peniston returned to base, it transpired that more time had elapsed than they realized. Moreover, there was discrepancy in their wristwatches. Time, it seemed, not only had run on, but had maybe run at different speeds for them. Now this takes us to some quite extraordinary territory, but when you talk to both John and Jim, and indeed to people who looked at this case, some quite extraordinary theories are being bounced around, ideas of time travel.
How could the contact with this strange craft cause a bend in time? According to Peniston, the answer is hidden within the coded message. For decades, this series of ones and zeros remained a mystery. But 30 years after the incident, Jim Burrows was examining the code and realized what Peniston had received.
As we were going through the book, he came to some pages that had zeros and ones on it. I looked at it and I said, these are binary codes.
The team had the code deciphered, revealing a shocking message. Exploration of humanity. Then latitude and longitude coordinates. Continuous for planetary advance. Peniston had long suspected that the UFO he had seen in the woods was alien in origin, but the coordinates within the code indicated a different explanation. They fell on the location of a forgotten island off the coast of Ireland, known as High Brazil.
High Brazil has sometimes been dubbed Celtic Atlantis. It's a sort of lost land, a mythical country, as it were, that some believed was the site of an advanced civilization. According to legends, those who have seen High Brazil reported a land filled with an advanced and wealthy civilization whose architecture consisted of golden towers and majestic domes.
What Jim Peniston initially believed to be a message from the stars turned out to be a mysteriously earthly communication. And the most shocking detail was the postscript on this code.
The message on the page says date of origin 8100.
Date of origin 8100. Could this signature be telling us the year these travelers had come from?
Why would a race that traveled thousands of light years play hide and seek with us, give us a binary message, and why is it in English? It doesn't point to alien. What I seen was a craft that was us from the future. This is not about UFOs. What I believe had happened, what I seen was a craft that was us from the future.
Time travelers from the future. We may not yet understand their communication, but if Jim Peniston is correct, this cryptic message confirms that mankind has survived well into the future, and that we have harnessed the power to control time itself. Coming up next, if mankind is destined to master time travel, when will it happen? The world's largest particle physics lab may have just found the answer. Unsealed Conspiracy Files. Welcome back to the world of conspiracy. This is Unsealed Conspiracy Files. The time to act is now. There are 3 simple steps you can take to unseal the truth.
Follow on Twitter.
Follow the Unsealed Twitter feed to receive breaking news of the latest conspiracies as they develop.
Tell your story.
What did you see that you shouldn't have?
The government's known about it all along. Why has nobody told us?
Upload stories and pictures to our interactive map.
Join the movement.
Get the Unsealed bracelet and the unique code hidden underneath to access exclusive content. Stop living in the dark.
It is definitely coming this way.
Get involved in the fight to unseal the truth. Now. Albert Einstein once theorized that traveling near the speed of light would change how a body moved through time relative to another. It was once thought impossible, but the world's largest particle physics laboratory may have just found a way. On September 21st, 2011, the European lab known as CERN announced a subatomic particle that travels faster than the speed of light. But are we ready for such a discovery? One small mistake in the past, or even knowing our future, could change everything. One false move, and the human race might never even evolve. We must be careful with the power this new discovery could give us. Otherwise, mankind may not have a future at all. Unsealed Conspiracy Files. Since man first looked to the sky thousands of years ago, he has wondered, are we alone in the universe?
Carl Sagan said there were billions and billions of stars, so it would be crazy for us to think that with all the planets and stars out there, we were the only form of intelligent life in the entire universe.
NASA has confirmed the existence of more than 450 planets outside our solar system. The biggest obstacle to contacting life on these planets? How do we get there?
So, for example, the star system Alpha Centauri is 4.5 light years away. We were able to use conventional rockets that could travel at, say, 5% of the speed of light. It would still take thousands of years to get there.
Experts think there might be another way, a secret method to unlocking instantaneous travel to any point in the universe. And it might have existed for centuries. Join us as we unseal the conspiracy behind Stargate. What if the history you were taught in school was all a lie? Is our government controlled by a secret society? Welcome to the world of conspiracy, where cover-ups, secrets, and hidden agendas all trace back to a single source. We're about to unseal the secret files the government doesn't want you to know about. This is Unsealed Conspiracy Files. Baghdad, 2003. American and British troops invade Iraq. The night sky turns to day as hundreds of bombs find their targets. Tanks roll down city streets. In a few short weeks, the Iraqi military is crushed. The mission is said to be accomplished, yet American troops remain there for more than a decade. Some experts have a shocking theory why U.S. soldiers remained for so long.
Iraq has long been known as the location of one of the oldest stargates on planet Earth.
The history of the Iraqi Stargate goes back more than 6,000 years.
For a civilization that was essentially coming right out of the Stone Ages, they were very highly advanced.
Chariots, tools, irrigation, weapons. In just a few hundred years, Sumerians advanced the species more than the previous 200,000 years combined.
The Sumerian culture is supposedly responsible for giving us a lunar calendar, arithmetic, even some of the first bits of literature written on stone tablets.
How did the ancient Sumerians create such wonders?
One of the theses that was put forward was that the ancient Sumerians were in fact a civilization that had been assisted by a race of extraterrestrials called the Anunnaki, and that the Anunnaki provided them with advanced technology.
Anunnaki is roughly translated as those who fell from the heavens.
So how did the Anunnaki cross the vast interstellar distance between their home world and Earth? One theory: Stargates.
One of these technologies was the ability to be able to travel through space-time using these technologies called stargates.
The theory behind how a stargate works is that it's a wormhole or vortex that connects 2 points in space together, kind of like folding a piece of paper over.
And some people think they're everywhere.
Probably anywhere between 10 to 20 for around the world altogether.
In southern Peru, a mysterious civilization that predates the Incas built the Puerta de Ayolmarca, or Gateway of the Gods.
There's a stargate near the city of Puno, Peru, which is on the edge of Lake Titicaca. It basically is built into what appears to be a cliff face, and it looks like a very large doorway.
There is a legend that one of the priests of the Incas was being chased by the Spanish conquistadors, and he fled into a stargate, into a portal, and simply disappeared from this plane of reality.
In neighboring Bolivia, another ancient people built the gateway to the sun more than 2,000 years before the rise of the Incan Empire.
The Gateway of the Sun Stargate in Bolivia was built by the Tiwanaku civilization. It's located on the shores or nearby Lake Titicaca on the top of the Bolivian plateau there. This doorway to the sun was a means by which the Tiwanakan civilization believed that they could interact or enter into the energies of the sun.
Pictographs and sculptures throughout the pyramids of Egypt depict the coming of gods from the stars who arrived and left long ago. What they left behind was a legacy of advanced technology, architecture, and culture the likes of which had never been seen before.
What evidence is there that advanced technology was delivered to the Egyptians through technologies such as stargates?
Well, the evidence we have is evidence from the hieroglyphics themselves that seem to indicate that there were places on planet Earth where they call them gods could easily transport themselves between their plane of reality, whatever universe they lived in, and our plane of reality.
Would these advanced beings send ambassadors of peace? Or would they transport advanced weapons that would make our largest nuclear missiles seem like firecrackers by comparison?
Imagine what the human race could do with such an incredible technology as a Stargate. Worse, imagine what we would do with it.
A Stargate in the wrong hands could spell disaster for all mankind. And some believe the most evil force on Earth may have already found one. Coming up, did the Nazis really find a working Stargate? Unsealed Conspiracy Files. Welcome back to the world of conspiracy. This is Unsealed Conspiracy Files. It's theorized that stargates are portals which allow interplanetary travel over unimaginable distances, and many think Adolf Hitler may have located just such a gateway.
Hitler became obsessed with the theory of the lost land of Thule.
The land of Thule was an underground or a subterranean civilization inhabited by these Nordic-looking giants who had tremendous abilities, and very importantly, they also had very sophisticated, very advanced technologies.
It was first described by the ancient Greeks, who equated it with the lost civilization of Atlantis.
One of the myths about an ancient Aryan civilization was that this civilization inhabited a warm region beneath the surface of Antarctica.
In 1938, before World War II is in full swing, Hitler sends German ships to Antarctica under the pretense of establishing a whaling base. Many historians believe he has far different motives.
If Hitler was really interested in whaling, then why send U-boats and other war machines down to Antarctica? It doesn't make any sense, unless he was going there for another reason.
Nazi Germany was convinced that Atlantis was actually buried underneath the Antarctic ice.
Philosophical Nazis were looking for some kind of validation for the supremacy of what they call the Aryan race, specifically for that portal that brought the Aryans to planet Earth. They were looking for a Stargate.
In 1939, the Nazi expeditions pay off. They establish an Antarctic base they name New Swabia. As World War II rages on, the Nazis allegedly continue to make frequent trips to the base.
With the Soviets closing in on the Eastern Front and the Allies closing in from the West, you would think the German Wehrmacht would be totally occupied with defending the fatherland instead of sending these naval expeditions to Antarctica.
After the Germans are defeated in 1945, reports of the Nazi base in Antarctica continue. 1 year after the surrender, the United States launches its own expedition to this frozen land. Unsealed case file, Operation High Jump.
Operation High Jump, 1946 to 1947, was a large naval expedition under the command of Admiral Byrd that went to Antarctica, ostensibly to visit the mini colony of New Swabia. The cover story was that they were simply mapping it.
What the Americans allegedly found there defied description. Reports of advanced rocket technology, anti-gravity experiments, and even high-tech flying saucers are unconfirmed.
Some people believe that there was evidence of genetic experiments an entire decade before DNA was even discovered.
What we do know, Operation High Jump was abruptly canceled months before its scheduled completion date. Admiral Richard Byrd expressed his fear of fast objects flying from pole to pole at incredible speeds.
Whatever it is that the American government found in Antarctica, we'll never know.
During World War II, physicist Wernher von Braun is one of the most prominent scientists of the Nazi Party. He develops the V-2 rocket, a ballistic missile that causes brutal destruction in the final years of the war.
In less than 4 years, the Nazis go from firing artillery shells to having radio-guided rockets.
Where did the Nazis get such technology at a time when wars were fought without guidance systems, smart bombs, or satellites?
A lot of people theorize that this was accomplished using alien technology that may have been brought through the Stargate. There were huge advancements in technology in World War II, but none of it even compared to what Operation High Jump was reported to find in New Swabia.
After the war, von Braun's technical wizardry was used to create America's first ballistic missile, its first jet fighter, and was responsible for the launch of America's space program.
As frightening as the potential technology of New Swabia might have been, even more frightening is the alleged discovery of an ancient Stargate in Iraq.
When we return, the desperate rush to secure the Iraqi Stargate will be revealed.
Saddam Hussein with Stargate technology in his hands? There's no way our government would have sat around and let that happen.
Unsealed. Conspiracy Files. Welcome back to the world of conspiracy. This is Unsealed. Conspiracy Files. Current theory on the Iraqi Stargate places the device beneath the ancient Sumerian city of Ur, the first great city of the world. It is also the site of the Sumerians' grandest temple, called the Great Ziggurat.
In 1922, the British explorer Woolley was sent to Iraq to explore the ancient city of Ur for artifacts. But legend has it that what Woolley found was not just an ancient city, but an entire ancient complex, possibly housing a Stargate.
Just as Woolley is not the first to explore the temple in modern times, he is also not the last. In the early 1980s, Saddam Hussein orders a massive restoration project at the Great Ziggurat, effectively transforming the temple into a fortress.
The Ziggurat of Ur is purportedly where Saddam worked on his biochemical weapons. It became the center of his operations, and he even put an Air Force base there.
Experts say 3 massive staircases leading into the temple were restored by Saddam, and not just to allow for easier access. They were also built to carry things out. Things like the Iraqi Stargate.
The real reason the United States launched the preemptive strike against Iraq in 2003 was because Saddam Hussein had gotten into his hands some of these technologies, such as Stargates. That's when the US political elite became very worried that Saddam Hussein would go public about his discoveries.
Critics of the war in Iraq speculate the real reason for America's involvement is to secure Iraq's oil supply for future use. But all the oil in the world pales in comparison to unlimited access to advanced alien technology.
Whether you loved or hated Bush, we may have all been wrong about the reasons for going to war.
Another piece of startling evidence, one of the most elite naval units in military history, known as Task Force 20, is dispatched in 2003 with the mission to find and terminate high-profile enemy targets in Iraq.
They were approximately 1,500 of the military's finest special forces people, and their job in Iraq after the invasion in 2003 was essentially to find Saddam Hussein, according to the public record.
But the unit's priorities raise questions. Early on in the invasion, Task Force 20 engages in a vicious firefight with Iraqi soldiers, not at a military target, but at the National Museum of Iraq.
Why would the U.S. government spend so many resources trying to get to the National Museum of Iraq? And why was the Iraqi Republican Guard there defending it?
Task Force 20, it had multiple missions, but its more secret mission was really to scour all of Iraq's ancient sites, all of Iraq's museums for any information.
They were looking for evidence to support that the Stargate was at the Great Ziggurat of Ur.
American forces made the Great Ziggurat the site of one of their most important air bases for the next 9 years.
We stayed in Iraq for 10 years, long after Saddam Hussein was overthrown, ostensibly to help the Iraqis build a new government. But could it have been that it took us an entire decade to dismantle the Stargate and ship it back to the United States because of that technology, and that was the reason we stayed in Iraq until 2012?
If they did dismantle the Iraqi Stargate and took it back to the U.S., it could be in any number of secret government warehouses. Area 51, Wright-Patterson, even Fort Knox. That thing could be anywhere.
Theorists see evidence of Stargates in every technological explosion in human history. Ancient texts and hieroglyphs seem to verify their suspicions.
From the Wright brothers' first powered flight and NASA's landing on the moon. Less than 70 years, and now NASA has a rover crawling across the surface of Mars looking for life.
Believers in Stargates argue such a great leap in science and technology over such a short amount of time simply cannot be explained by traditional thinking.
The advantages of a military or a civilization that controlled a Stargate would be enormous. They would be able to transport people and equipment through vast distances of time and space.
Coming up, the dangers of a Stargate, once found, are almost too great to conceive.
If an enemy had a Stargate and was able to utilize it in a war against us, we could be snuffed out of existence in less than a second.
Unsealed Conspiracy Files. Welcome back to the world of conspiracy. This is Unsealed Conspiracy Files. The time to act is now. There are 3 simple steps you can take to unseal the truth.
Follow on Twitter.
Follow the Unsealed Twitter feed to receive breaking news of the latest conspiracies as they develop.
Tell your story.
What did you see that you shouldn't have?
The government's known about it all along. Why has nobody told us?
Upload stories and pictures to our interactive map.
Join the movement.
Get the Unsealed bracelet and the unique code hidden underneath to access exclusive content. Stop living in the dark.
It is definitely coming this way.
Get involved in the fight to unseal the truth. Now. Experts worry the opening of a Stargate could have terrifying consequences for a civilization as relatively primitive as our own.
If Stargates were built by a race of extraterrestrials to enable them to traverse vast distances, what chance do we have of manipulating that technology?
We'd be like infants playing with a nuclear bomb.
The main concern is that no matter who attempts to open the Stargate, the end result could spell disaster for all mankind.
That would be very, very dangerous for a Stargate to be opened prematurely like that without knowing who would be coming through.
An out-of-control wormhole might pull the Earth through a Stargate, piece by painful piece.
What if we created a black hole right here on planet Earth and we snuffed ourselves out of existence without even realizing what we were about to do?
It would be as if we never existed. Unsealed Conspiracy Files.
Mars. Named for the god of war, it is the most similar planet to Earth in our entire solar system, perhaps the only other planet that could support life, human or otherwise. What can explain the inhuman discoveries made on Mars? Bizarre structures, possible alien remains, and what could be an alien figure caught on NASA cameras. Is mankind on the verge of discovering alien life on Mars? Or have we already found proof of Martian civilizations?
This almost appears to be a whole city unexplored on the surface of Mars.
Tonight, the shocking truth of a world that could hold the key to our past and our future. Join us as the incredible secrets of alien life on planet Mars are unsealed. It was the most ambitious mission of its kind in the history of space exploration. A $2.5 billion project that many hoped could answer the ancient question: is there life on Mars?
The Curiosity rover is essentially a moving laboratory, and we can collect evidence off of Mars that we've never been able to collect before.
But the Curiosity rover is only the latest explorer of a program that began in 1971. Since then, 16 probes have successfully reached Mars, some returning crucial evidence that the red planet wants or may still be able to support life. In 1975, Viking orbiters showed geological evidence of rivers, lakes, and oceans. These images painted the picture of an ancient Mars that may have once held an abundance of alien life.
When they discovered that there was at one time possibly water on the surface of Mars, that blew open the door of possibility for there being extraterrestrial life in our solar system, let alone the universe.
Could Mars in fact have been much more like Earth than we once believed? The first color photographs of the Martian surface were taken by a rover in 2004. The images revealed that the red planet was anything but.
One of the things that shocked people in 2004 when NASA and JPL released these photos was this wasn't the dead planet that we've been led to believe with a brown sky and brown dusty surface. That when you look at this bluish sky and when you look at the surface of the Martian ground, it very much resembled the surface of Earth.
Could our exploration of this alien planet uncover the ultimate extraterrestrial secret? That intelligent life once, or perhaps still, exists on Mars, and that the evidence has been right before our eyes. Unsealed case file, the skull of Mars. In 2004, NASA landed 2 rovers on the surface of Mars, Spirit and Opportunity. They were sent to explore opposite sides of the red planet. And while Opportunity sent back many interesting photos, it was Spirit which captured what some believe is our first glimpse at an alien face. In this picture, we see a shape sitting on the ground. It has familiar features: eyes, a nose, even teeth. Could this be, as some believe, a humanoid skull buried in the Martian soil?
Alien theorists believe that this could be evidence that either humans had visited Mars at some point in the past, or that some other humanoid alien race has existed there for thousands of years.
Is this object, in fact, an ancient fossil? And what could be buried alongside it? Coming up next, the search for answers could reveal not only evidence of an alien being on the surface of Mars, but an entire civilization. This is Unsealed Alien Files, exposing the biggest secret on planet Earth. Welcome back to Unsealed Alien Files. Photographs of Mars reveal alien landscapes remarkably similar to Earth, and unexplained images that look terrifyingly human. But the biggest question remains: Is there alien life on planet Mars?
All the evidence points to the fact that Mars could have very well supported life in the past and maybe supports alien life to this very day.
July 25th, 1976. The Viking 1 orbiter photographs a Martian terrain known as Cydonia. Of the many pictures taken that day, one would be seen as a sign that we may not be alone in the universe. A human face etched into the surface of Mars.
Well, the face of Mars doesn't resemble, it looks like a human face. I mean, it's looking up at the stars, at the heavens, but it looks like a human face. No mistaking it. And this thing has two eyes, a nose, a mouth. It has something that looks like a headdress on it. And this face, by the way, is about 3 miles, top to bottom, chin to head to top of head, and about 2 miles across. So it's a very large object, it's not small.
Alien theorists propose that the face of Mars could be a monument constructed by an ancient alien race, an invitation or a warning to visitors of Mars.
Skeptics say, well, why would an alien race make something like this? Well, who knows? It could be for a number of reasons. It could be as a monument to, maybe they knew a cataclysm was coming and they wanted to leave something that would let people know that they were there, let somebody know that they were there. It could be as simple as art. I mean, why do we create art? Why do we create sculpture?
Shockingly, the most recent images of the face reveal nothing more than a mountain of sand. Was the face a mere illusion? Or could it be that the face was purposely destroyed using explosives on board the Mars Observer? A NASA statement from August 21st, 1993 reports that NASA forever lost contact with Observer over the Martian surface, followed what was believed to be a fuel rupture. The next time the face was photographed in 1996, its features had vanished. It may be mere coincidence, but some believe this is just the most recent evidence of a cover-up to protect the truth.
Alien theorists believe that this could be evidence that either humans had visited Mars at some point in the past, or that some other humanoid alien race has existed there for thousands of years.
In fact, several photos from Mars have revealed what many believe are manufactured objects and signs of a ruined civilization. One of the discoveries was an object known as the ammo box. Photographed by NASA's Spirit rover, the origins of this seemingly metallic object remain a mystery.
The ammo box seems to be made of some sort of metal, and every edge meets at a 90-degree corner. How is that possible if it's a natural formation?
This and similar evidence have led theorists to believe that Mars may have been home to an ancient alien civilization. But could the ultimate discovery be an ancient city with a connection to our home planet? Unsealed case file, the Pyramids of Mars. Of all Martian regions, none has been more rich with the possible proof of civilization than Cydonia and the Pyramids of Mars.
In the middle of this barren planet, there stand three structures that resemble almost exactly our pyramids in Egypt.
Indeed, the shape of the pyramid has been repeated on Earth throughout multiple countries for millennia. The connection between the pyramids of Earth and these so-called pyramids of Mars could be seen as evidence of an extraterrestrial connection to the human race.
If these structures on Mars were manufactured by some sort of alien beings, what could that mean for our race? It could mean that we have neighbors who obviously thousands of years ago came here to visit us and left influences on our people and our cultures.
The largest of the Martian monuments is known as the D&M Pyramid. It spans almost 2 miles and stands half a mile tall. Shockingly, the axis of the pyramid is nearly in alignment with the north-south axis of Mars, just as the Great Pyramid of Giza is aligned with the north-south axis of the Earth. And yet, even if the pyramids of Mars could be explained as natural, it would be difficult to explain why, sitting near the base of the southernmost pyramid, is a Sphinx. Coming up next, an intergalactic war and possible images of an alien being lead to the ultimate question: is a Martian invasion in our future? Find out when we return. This is Unsealed Alien Files, exposing the biggest secret on planet Earth. Welcome back to Unsealed Alien Files. Humanoid faces seen in the Martian terrain, images of possible alien life, objects that seem to defy natural explanation. The evidence of alien life on Mars raises questions about an advanced civilization and their mysterious disappearance. Can the answer be found within pyramids eerily similar to ancient Egypt, right down to the presence of a Sphinx?
The Sphinx on Mars is a monolith that was discovered in 1997 by the Pathfinder mission. If you examine this photograph, even for just a minute, it's very clear that you can see a defined head, body, and even arms.
It is a form remarkably like that of the Great Sphinx of Giza, with a head that appears to be decorated in an Egyptian headdress. And all of this within miles of the so-called face of Mars.
When you think about an alien race building a giant face on the surface of their planet, some may laugh it off. And I always say, well, why would you laugh it off? Look at civilizations here on Earth stretching back thousands of years. You've got giant structures in the middle of Egypt, one of which just happens to be a very large face on the Sphinx. You've got other structures from other cultures that are being built that you can only see from the sky. So when you look at those commonalities, you have to see maybe there's a connection between life 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago here on Earth and quite possibly a life starting on the planet of Mars.
If there truly was an ancient civilization on Mars, who knows how advanced they may have become before extinction? Could the ancient pyramids of Egypt have been constructed as a cultural link between the two societies? And if so, how did their society come to an end?
Many theorize by the scientific advances that we're making studying the Martian surface that in Mars's past, that it's been hit multiple times by asteroids. Now, when you talk about huge asteroids striking a planetary surface, the effects of that are pretty detrimental. Many believe that happened on Mars, maybe on a grander scale. Instead of 10% of the world's life or the planet's life surviving, that you had zero survivability.
Possible evidence of this catastrophic event can be found right on the surface of Mars. Concentrated on one side of the planet are over 3,000 craters, measuring 20 miles in diameter.
If an asteroid a mile across were to hit the Martian surface, it's estimated that that would have the impact and the force equivalent to a 1 million megaton nuclear weapon. That is 10 million times the force of what was released in Hiroshima.
The debris raised by such an asteroid could block out the sun, effectively killing all life on the planet. But could there be another explanation for these enormous craters? One that points to a very advanced ancient civilization on Mars, and a Martian nuclear apocalypse. Ancient Roman records point to accounts of what was referred to as fire in the sky. Both Romans and Babylonians named it for their god of war. Was Mars once home of a violent and distant battle between an alien species? And could any survivors still be alive today?
For years, we've been debating about what the Martians might look like. Science fiction gives us all kinds of different variations of what these aliens are. But in 2008, the Spirit rover gave us our first clear picture, which could show us who the Martians are.
Unsealed case file: The Creature of Mars. In 2008, the Mars Spirit rover transmitted a panorama back to Earth from the West Valley of Mars. At first look, this photograph appears to merely be a stunning view of the Martian terrain. But closer inspection exposes a chilling revelation. A humanoid figure, seeming to walk just behind a ridge. It appears to have a head, a torso, even legs, caught in mid-stride. Could this real photographic evidence be a creature captured alive on the surface of Mars? If this is truly a living creature, we could be looking at a post-apocalyptic Martian survivor, a rare example of an extraterrestrial species still hiding on an alien planet. You may think we'll never know, but if expert predictions are right, the invasion of Mars could be just around the corner. Coming up next, the event that could put you face to face with an alien race. Earth invades planet Mars. This is Unsealed Alien Files, exposing the biggest secret on planet Earth. Welcome back to Unsealed Alien Files. The time to act is now. There are 3 simple steps you can take to unseal the truth.
Follow on Twitter.
Follow the Unsealed Twitter feed to receive breaking news of the latest alien happenings as they develop.
Tell your story.
Have you seen a UFO?
Whatever we encountered affected our memory.
Upload stories and pictures to our interactive map.
Join the movement.
Get the Unsealed bracelet and the unique code hidden underneath to access exclusive content. Stop living in the dark.
It is definitely coming this way.
Get involved in the fight to unseal the truth. Now. For decades, man has feared the potential invasion of Earth by Martians. But a twist of modern science could bring humans to invade Mars. In January 2013, the Mars 1 was announced. It could be the first private spacecraft to land on the Red Planet. It is scheduled to arrive on Mars within the next 10 years. And its cargo? A volunteer group of human colonists from Earth. They will live on and develop Mars for the remainder of their lives. These brave pioneers could explore an alien world, beginning a peaceful colonization or an intergalactic war. But at last, we may answer the question, is there life on Mars? This is Unsealed Alien Files, exposing the biggest secret on planet Earth.
Do aliens walk the Earth? Did man really walk on the moon? Are top secret high-tech weapons operating against the law and under our noses?
There's evidence that NASA may have doctored the photos.
Conspiracies have always been part of our history and our folklore. From unproven plots rooted in paranoia to the documented cases that seem too terrifying to be true.
The whole thing was a setup, a complete and utter setup.
From jet trails to Jesus to JFK, we're counting down the most infamous cover-ups and secret schemes in history as the top 10 conspiracies of all time are unsealed. What if the history you were taught in school was all a lie? Is our government controlled by a secret society? Welcome to the world of conspiracy, where cover-ups, secrets, and hidden agendas all trace back to a single source. We're about to unseal the secret files the government doesn't want you to know about. This is Unsealed Conspiracy Files. July 20th, 1969. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin accomplished the greatest feat in the history of mankind. Or do they? Kicking off our countdown at number 10 is the moon landing hoax. The year was 1974, 2 years after the final moon landing of Apollo 17. A small self-published book was released with the title, "We Never Went to the Moon, the $30 Billion Swindle." It was one of the first to publicly question NASA's official story.
There's a theory that Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landing in a studio.
According to the book, the astronauts were merely actors on sound stages, promoting an elaborate hoax so the U.S. could claim victory in the space race.
We were so engaged in the space race that any win, any victory would have helped morale.
Their evidence the moon landing never happened? Inconsistencies in the photographs of the mission. Not enough dust in the air upon landing. Missing or incomplete records and radio transmissions.
If I worked at NASA, I would say, look at all the evidence. If you don't believe that, you're not going to believe the sun's going to rise the next day.
Despite years of point-by-point debunking and patient explanation by experts and engineers, between 10 and 25% of the population still doesn't believe the moon landings were real. An unthinkable betrayal of trust, a panicked and clumsy cover-up, a paper trail that exposed the entire shameful affair. All-time conspiracy number 9 is Project MK Ultra.
The MK Ultra program was the main research project within the Central Intelligence Agency in regards to mind control.
MK Ultra is started in 1953 by CIA Director Allen Dulles. The program allegedly includes the use of mega doses of hallucinogenic drugs, shock therapy, and other attempts at brainwashing.
Terrible things were done. Massive drugs were given to innocent people, including the staff of the people working on the project. Unsuspecting people were given LSD and other things. Some information was gained at great human cost.
The subjects of these experiments? Civilians and military alike, many of whom aren't even told of their participation. One victim is even the wife of a Canadian member of Parliament.
Nobody explained it to me. Nobody ever asked me if I was willing to do it or anything.
By the 1970s, word of the CIA's secret program begins to leak out.
The CIA tried to erase all this. They shredded most of the documents.
About 20,000 pages survived because they were mislabeled as financial information in the CIA archives. They were released in the 1970s during a congressional hearing, which is finally when all the MK Ultra information came to light.
A sordid chapter in U.S. history comes to a close in 1977. But the damage is done. Not only to the reputation of the CIA, but to the thousands of victims of MK Ultra. Long thought to be a figment of the imagination of fanatics, this top-secret airbase turned out to be all too real. And that's why it's all-time conspiracy number 8, Area 51.
Area 51 is a top-secret military installation, about 90 miles northeast of Las Vegas, Nevada.
The U.S. government officially admitted to the existence of Area 51 in a 1995 document. That admission only served to inflame the conspiracy theorists.
Other than only saying that they test top-secret technology, they really will not elaborate what's going on inside that facility.
From time travel to teleportation, the alleged activities at Area 51 seem limited only by the imagination.
Since the rumors of Area 51 had started circulating, people have come out to claim that they worked inside the facility, and there's a lot of operations going on, which includes back engineering alien technology.
We're only just getting started. When we return, 2 conspiracies that may destroy the world, and another that may someday rule it. Unsealed Conspiracy Files. Welcome back to the world of conspiracy. This is Unsealed Conspiracy Files. We're counting down the top 10 conspiracies of all time. Next up is a government facility some say could destroy the world. Its full name, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. But conspiracy number 7 is better known by its nickname, HAARP.
The HAARP installation is a 35-acre facility that has over 160 antenna arrays all linked up together. It has a 3.6 million watt transmitter in which it shoots ELF, or extremely low frequency waves, into our ionosphere.
According to the government, HAARP is merely a research station studying the ionosphere and its effects on radio wave transmission. But according to a patent many believe is connected to the project, that's not the whole story.
This patent has all sorts of military applications. It can be employed as an early warning device, and it says right here, it puts unprecedented amounts of power in the Earth's ionosphere.
We're talking about a weapon. So it's very interesting that all throughout this patent, it's actually spelled out in black and white the actual uses for this to be some type of weather modification.
Controlling the weather to controlling people's minds. HAARP has been blamed by its detractors for affecting the environment in both devious and detrimental ways.
With weather manipulation, you can turn a cloudy day into a sunny day, you can turn a sunny day into a rainy day, even create a tornado out in the middle of nowhere if you really wanted to.
It also says right here, you open up holes in the atmosphere. These are holes where you send solar radiation through. You literally fry your enemy.
Similar ionospheric heaters exist in Russia, Norway, and Puerto Rico, and many experts fear the worst when it comes to their potential for destruction.
There may be one day where we try and control the weather a little bit too much, and we alter Mother Nature. If that's true, and there's no way to control it, we may one day face the wrath of planet Earth.
When it comes to secret government conspiracies that affect our very atmosphere, none is more feared and talked about than all-time conspiracy number 6, chemtrails. The crisscross clouds are becoming an everyday sight in the skies across America, and some scientists are terrified of their potential to do harm.
Chemtrail, it is believed, is actually a chemical spray of some kind that the military could be putting into our atmosphere. Why? We don't really know. What? We don't know that either.
Our government claims that all they're doing is spreading metallic oxides in the atmosphere. And it's for research purposes only, and that we're not doing anything damaging. So we have two opinions here on HAARP. One is from the government. Oh, we're not doing anything wrong, pure research. And the other is conspiracy theorists saying the government is testing a weapon.
From accelerating global warming to enacting biological warfare experiments, even conspiracy theorists themselves disagree about the real story. In 2001, 4 government agencies issued a joint report denying the existence of chemtrails, which only fueled talk of a cover-up.
Well, they actually initiated a law that stated that the military could, in fact, spray these dead, quote-unquote, harmless spores into the atmosphere for testing. That's all on the books, and that's provable.
Senator Dennis Kucinich introduced legislation which included language banning chemtrails in 2001. The reference to chemtrails was deleted, and the bill never even made it to a vote.
If that doesn't smack up a conspiracy, I don't know what else does.
Since the beginning of recorded history, the powerless have questioned the motives of the powerful. Which brings us to all-time conspiracy number 5, the New World Order.
I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. We have before us the opportunity to forge a new world order.
Secret societies made up of the rich and powerful from around the globe have long been accused of having a planet-wide hidden agenda to control the world. One of the most frequently mentioned groups is the Freemasons.
When the stone was laid for the Capitol building, George Washington was there and he was in full Masonic garb. So the Masonic influence was there, but how deep it went, that's a big question.
The symbols of this secret society are on our money and our monuments.
From the capstone at the Statue of Liberty to the all-seeing eye in the back of our dollar bill, these symbolic references can be found throughout our culture.
Why should people worry about a new world order, quote unquote? Well, they control the money supply, they control the military, they control the production of food, they control weather on the planet. The problem with the new world order is who's voting for it? Who's it responsible to? And how did it come into being?
These secret societies may have different rituals and secret handshakes, but according to many, they all have the same goal: a new world order. Coming up, a conspiracy more than 2,000 years in the making, and the startling new evidence that shocked the world. Unsealed. Conspiracy Files. Welcome back to the world of conspiracy. This is Unsealed. Conspiracy Files. September 2012. A small piece of parchment reignites a millennia-old controversy. All-time conspiracy number 4. Was Jesus married?
If we're looking at a 4th century Coptic document, the document could very well be legitimate.
For 2 millennia, the faithful and the fearful have debated the true nature of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene.
The bigger question is, did Jesus have a wife and raise children or not? We don't know everything about Jesus. Maybe he did.
If Jesus did have a wife and children, that means his bloodline could live on today. And that's a thought that makes many Christians very uncomfortable.
Priests take a vow of celibacy in order to honor Christ. But if Christ actually had a wife, then one basic tenet of the priesthood becomes invalid.
The recently discovered papyrus has been declared a fake by the Vatican. But that's just what a conspiracy theorist would expect them to say. 1947, a sleepy southwestern town. Until one fateful night when its name becomes synonymous with conspiracy and cover-up. Coming in at number 3 is Roswell, New Mexico.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
Everybody knows about Roswell.
On July 7th, residents of the town are startled by a mysterious crash in the desert. According to reports, soldiers, firemen, and locals witness a downed alien craft and what appear to be the ship's occupants dead. Radio and newspaper reports at the time confirm the incredible events.
Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
In the days that follow, the military changed their account of the incident.
The first story was that the Air Force had captured a flying disc. Then they recanted the story just half a day later and came out with the fact that it was a weather balloon.
Experts still disagree over exactly what happened that night.
In our research, we've had over 600 eyewitness testimonies since then saying that this was not a weather balloon, that there were aliens that they saw.
More than 60 years later, it seems the cover-up is intact and the controversy is only growing. April 30th, 1945. As Berlin was bombed to bits above him, the most reviled dictator in all of history took his own life. At least, that's what he wants us to think. All-time conspiracy number 2, the death of Adolf Hitler. The official record says Hitler gave his wife Eva a cyanide pill and then shot himself in the head.
When Hitler fell, the Soviets finally reached the bunker where Hitler and his wife had been hiding out. They found a burned body, had been burned with gasoline.
We know that the Soviets said that Hitler's dentist confirmed that it was Hitler's body with the use of his dental records. We really don't know if Hitler truly died or not in that bunker.
Could Hitler have survived the war and lived on? Experts think it's not only possible, it's likely.
Interesting story. U-530 was a Nazi German submarine that shows up in Argentina 2 months after the end of the war with no logs.
U-530 proved